This section of the shooting video, I'm going to be covering a lot on light flares. So light flares can really be super fun to create, as well as they can be really challenging when you don't really get the light flares in the right place or the right settings, or you don't shoot it at the right time. So here in my setup, I was here in my daughter's room. My son was standing up on a chair against that window, and he was being backlit. So it was right about 2 hours or 2.5 hours before golden hour, and I was situated in a position such that I could really just move myself a little to the left, a little to the right, to get the right angle to create some light flares using my Canon 35 mm L lens. I then went ahead and changed my lens to a manual focus lens only. And I used a Helios lens over here because the Helios vintage lens really just helps um, add additional light flares, and it can just add really a little bit of funkiness, some interesting light flares to your images. But again, like I said, the key really here is to make sure that you are positioned in such a way that you angle yourself in such a way that you see the light flare while you're creating it in your camera. Um, Light flares really, just like I said initially, are basically when the light hits the lens of your camera in a really, really simplistic way. When it hits the lens of your camera, that's when you really just get a light flare. So you just really have to keep moving to make sure that the light rather, the sunlight hits the lens of your camera such that you really get those that light flares that you see while you're shooting as well. I also picked up a prism in this creative shoot because I just wanted a reflection of my sun, which I initially also had in mind that I wanted to composite in. At a later point, where my vision when I was photographing him, always just with a really simple window portraits, is sometimes to just get additional tools and equipment and things like that in, such that I can add or composite things in at a later stage as needed. I also, the third thing, creative thing that I did over here was to pick up a Ziploc bag, and I sprayed the Ziploc bag with a little bit of water on it just to get some bokeh on the Ziploc bag. And I simply held that Ziploc bag against my camera lens, and I kept rotating my lens such that the water bokeh, the light flares, as well as my subject were positioned so that all of them really just worked beautifully without really being any, without really having any distractions in the frame.